Hey guys, so we have some crazy news in from Plarium. 10x events are gone and 25x events are here to stay, is what I wish I'd be saying at the start of this video. Unfortunately, the actual truth is far more complicated, way more confusing, and honestly, I wish they would have just done 25x events. But let me go over the news. Let me share this with you guys. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions down below before I give mine, but here we go. This Friday, November 17th, we're planning to launch the first ever progressive chance event, giving you at least 15x chance to summon the champions of your choice from the selected pool from Ancient, Primal, Sacred, and Void shards. These are the champions that will be included in the pool. Pay somewhat attention to that. So a cheat sheet, if you summon a legendary champion from an Ancient shard, you will have up to a 25x chance, what does up to that mean, of getting a legendary champion that you've selected from the pool above and put into summon slots from Ancient shards. The same goes for epic rarity as well as all other shard types. So in this case, we have 6 legendaries, 2 epics that we could pick from for the Ancient shard pool. Now, when you're selecting your champions, it's going to look somewhat like this. So say, for example, we had to pick 3 legendaries and 1 epic from that pool. Well, you come in here, pick Necmo, Stoutus, Snicktrack. What's going to happen is you put them into this slot, and then anytime you summon a legendary, if it starts at 15x, so that's what they said it's going to do, it's going to start at 15, at least a 15x chance, so it's not a 10x chance, so it is a little bit higher chance, it's a 15x instead of 10, which is definitely better, and it's going to be on the 3 champions you choose, which also is better for your account. However, the part that gets deceitful, it's not necessarily deceitful, but it is a little bit confusing and complicated. So you summon a legendary and it's not one of the champions that you selected. Well, now it's going to go from a 15x chance to a 20x chance. So say you put Rotos, Harima, and Kymar in there. You got super lucky, that was the pool. You put those champions in there and you summoned a Noble. I know a lot of people don't like Noble. Well, now instead of a 15x chance, you're going to have a 20x chance to summon one of those 3 champions you actually put in the pool. Now this sounds pretty bad to be, well, in a way it sounds good, in a way it sounds bad, but it's like, why? Like, we know 10x is bad, 15x is better, that is true. However, you're gonna have to pull a ton of shards, and if this event is lasting, say, through the weekend, so 48, maybe 72 hours at most, then you have 72 hours to hit 3 or 4 legendaries. I guess you gotta hit 3, so you gotta get the first one, miss, second one, miss, and the third one, that's gonna be your 25x chance, and that's not even a guarantee. Matter of fact, I did some math as far as the breakdown on a 25x chance, and while it is far better than a 15x chance, it's still not very good. Now, when it comes to non-void champions, the pool is way bigger. I'm calculating this. I did the math based off of 160 non-void champions. I think it's probably more than that now, but that's the number I'm going off of. Now, with void champions, keep in mind, it will be actually much better because the void champion pool is like 60 pullable void legendary champions, so it's far better odds there. However, void shards are far more expensive. So if you're trying to go for a void champion, it may actually be worth now saving up for a long time, saving up hundreds and hundreds of void shards and pulling them during one of these events if they ever do like a Taras, Marichka, I don't know, some other S tier void legendaries and throw them in there. Granted, you could miss the ones you choose because apparently you do have to select all the slots. So you may want to just, I don't want Rorik or Galkabar, I just want Rotos. So let's drop these 2 and just keep Rotos. Well, unfortunately, you can see here at the bottom, the confirm button is not colored in. So you have to select all the slots. You can't leave some out as far as I'm aware. Maybe they change it in the future, but I wish that wasn't the case because now it's like, hey, if I end up hitting Rorik, which I have just as likelihood of hitting Rorik as I do Rotos, well, now I, don't get the 25x. I assume the 25x resets, which is unfortunate. So the math that I've done, let's see what the rates are, how lucky you're going to be. Well, for non-voids, 10x events, basically what happens, from what my understanding, is they have 1 champion in the pool right now. There's 160 possible champions in the pool. You have your 1 champion you're going for example. So Rotos, this is just a simplicity version. We'll get into a little bit more the 3 options a little bit later. So 1 out of 160 is going to be a 0.6% chance of actually pulling that specific legendary champion. And then in a 10x, basically what they do is you already have your 1, they take 9 more copies, throw that into the pool, so now you have 10 copies that you could pull, 10 copies of your Rotos into the summoning pool, and now there's a total of 169 champions because you've added your 9 extra copies of your champion. So then a 15, it's going to be 15 out of 174. You still have that 1 from the very beginning. That's always going to be there. It doesn't change that number on the side. And then 20 out of 179, and then 25 out of 184 champions. So as you're going up, if it starts at 15x, you start off day 1, okay? there's only one champion, you're gonna have an 8.6% chance of pulling the specific champion you want, which if you guys don't know what 8.6% is, it's basically you're not pulling it. So it's less than the rate, actually it's a little bit more than a sacred shard to get a legendary. So you hit a legendary, it's gonna be the same rate of opening a sacred, basically a little bit more of opening a sacred and getting a legendary from that pool, the chances of getting your specific one, if you can follow along with that. So the next thing, 20 out of 179. Remember, this is just for one champion. I'm gonna get into the 3 champions a little bit later. So then 20x chance is gonna be 11.2% to get one champion, your specific champion. And then 25 out of 184 is gonna be 13% chance to get your specific champion from a 25x event if it's just one champion. Things get more difficult as you add more champions. Granted, if all the champions are good, then it's actually even better for you. But that's not always the case. So now we come down to void legendaries. Before we continue with the non-void, let's take a look at the void legendaries, because I don't want it to be all bad. The void legendaries, 1 out of 60, 1.6%. But if you have a 15x, which is right here, 15x, it's going to be a 20% chance of getting the legendary that you want, which is actually pretty good. And then we have 25 is going to be 28.4%. So if you got there, it's going to be unfortunate because you would have already pulled 1, 2, that'll be your 3rd void legendary. So hopefully by your 3rd void legendary, you can actually get what you're going for. But if you don't, then you're going to have to continue to the 4th and the 5th with still only 28.4% chance. Now, this is where it gets rough, okay? So like I said, if there's 3 boosted legendaries, like I said before, you have to fill out these slots. It could be 3 slots, it could be 4 slots. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but if it's 3 slots, for example, well now, instead of throwing in, 9 copies of your champion, you're throwing in 27 copies of champions because you got 9 copies of Rhodos, 9 copies of Rourke, 9 copies of Galkabar, but we're only looking for the 10 copies total of Rhodos. So now we have a 30 out of 187 chance, or 30 out of 187 possible champions, which is going to be, let's see, which this number is irrelevant basically, but a 16% chance to pull one of those 3 champions. 15x is going to be 45 out of 202, but the main thing we're going to look at is, I guess, the 15x, which is going to be a total percent chance of, let's see, 45 divided by 202 is going to be a 22% chance of pulling one of those 3 champions. And then at the 20x, if you miss any of those 3 champions, well then at 20x is going to be 60 divided by 217. That's going to be a 27, we'll call it 28% chance of pulling one of those 3 champions, which is actually pretty decent. Hopefully you get one of those 3. Hopefully it's the one you want, which we're going to talk about those numbers in a moment. And then at 25x, you have a 32.3% chance of getting one of the 3 champions you have in your boosted rates. Now, this is what you're probably thinking. Okay, well, if we have 75 out of 232, how many copies of my champion do I have? Well, you have 25 copies of your champion. You have 25 copies of your champion that you want, your Rhodos, in this pool. So now you have a chance, a 10%. Chances at 25x are 10% to get your specific champion. So compare this, okay? I mean, we never have 10x for a single champion, so it's kind of difficult to compare that, the top versus the bottom. But if you have 3 champions in the pool and say you only wanted 1, which may not be the case. Hopefully it's not going to be the case because in this situation, Necmo, I would love an extra copy of him. Snicktrack, I would love an extra copy of him. Theodore, I would love a copy of him. I don't necessarily want any one of these champions more than the other. I'd be happy with any of them. So that 3 out of, that 10% chance, I guess, it could land fine no matter what. And this number up here is more accurate, 32.3% chance of getting something that's going to benefit my account. However, if they do an event where it's like, Duchess plus Galkabar plus Rourke, to use this previous example, you're probably going to want Duchess, and the chances of getting your Duchess are going to be severely dropped just because there's not many other champions that you really want in that pool. So something to consider is when you're going for these events, if you want to go for these events, the odds, especially for the non-void legendaries, are still going to be very low because it's not, remember, don't look at the 25x chance, okay? That looks enticing. That looks like, hey, I want to go for this. However, remember that in order to get to this 25x chance, you have to pull through the 15x, which is only slightly better than a 10x. Yes, it is better. I'm going to agree with that. But as far as the numbers go, the percentage-wise, it's only barely better. And you know that we've pulled in 10x events all the time with nothing. Like, you get absolutely nothing from 10x events. You never hit 10x events. People complain about it all the time. So now if you start at 15x, instead of a 16% chance, you have a 22% chance, okay? So just remember, I mean, that is a difference. However, it's not a drastic enough difference where, hey, you're definitely going to get that champion from this. I mean, that's almost 1 in 4, but either way, it doesn't matter. From there, you're going to continue to climb. But ultimately, guys, this event, just face value, could be good if the champions are good. Yes. However, the fact that you have to pull so many shards to crack a legendary to get this, even the epics could be good, but the epics are even more in the game. So like there's way more epics in the game. Venomage versus Balthus. Just for an example, I don't want this dude. I want Venomage. I don't want the other guy. Now this stuff down here, Stagnite, we have Lady Annabelle. Maybe both of them are good for you. That could be a good event for you to pull in. However, if you don't pull in a 10x event, then you probably shouldn't be pulling this either, to be honest, because this isn't going to be, I don't think, drastically different enough for you to justify pulling, at least not for me. Honestly, the only time I think this would be justifiable is if they have really good Void Champion, Void Legendaries in this event, and they have a few of them that I need, and I have a bunch of Void Shards. I can plan on hitting a Void Legendary or two, actually two Void Legendaries ideally. So if you have like 300 or 400 Void Shards, maybe you can make sense of, hey, I'm going to go ahead and pull in this event and have a very good chance of getting one of the Void Legendaries that I want, which, yeah, go for it. You have a good chance. This may be your best chance to get that. However, for most players, most of the time, if I can open this page up again, it's probably just not going to be worth it to actually go for this. And I feel like it's going to be one of those things where players feel a little bit of FOMO, like, hey, if I hit Mercy a few times going for this, now if they have a 2x event paired with this, okay, now we're maybe talking, because now we have a 2x event, it's worth it to pull anyways, but we also have this event, yeah, that's probably worth going for then. We need to see what they actually release in the future. I don't want to come out and say this is terrible or this is amazing, because to be honest, it just is what it is. Like it's nothing to me, because the chances are still going to be low. You really have no secure way of knowing you're actually going to get one of the champions you're trying to go for. It'd be cool if it was a continual climb, okay? It still kind of sucks because it's small increments, but if every time you hit a legendary, and it increased by 5x, 5x, so it went from 25x to 30x to 35x to 40x. It's still very slow, very expensive, but at least in that situation, you know, hey, I could eventually guarantee myself one of these champions. Now, I would never actually pull that many legendaries, I don't think. However, if I did, it'd be cool to know that that would actually be continually increasing. But either way, the event, let me know what you guys think. That's my thoughts, my opinions, my little bit of a breakdown. If you notice anything I did that, stood out to you as confusing, I'm not trying to purchase a pack. What's going on here? If you notice anything I did that was like maybe a little bit off, maybe I misunderstood something, let me know in the comment section below. It's a brand new release thing, so who knows? Who knows how it's actually going to play out? Let me see what Hydra chest gives me. Actually, better yet, let's see what the good old Clan Boss chest gives me. Clan Boss, we're going to go collect this, which actually I got a video coming out very soon about some Clan Boss stuff. Some actually general tips to help you with your game as far as efficiency. So I'll talk about that as far as like tips and tricks to help you out. So it'll be very soon. Hopefully my Painkeeper is still geared correctly. She is good. And guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.